Welcome to another awesome demo of a really powerful software that you can add to your agency. We have Brendan here with us, who's going to tell us all about Loss Run Pro. Loss Run Pro, if you haven't looked into this, and if you are working commercial, this is really a necessity in the agency. It's such a low-cost service. If commercial is part of your product offering and you want to make it simple for your customers and you want to be able to get those loss runs, I mean, it's in the name, right? We kind of know what it does, but we're going to dive into that and see what it does and why this is so beneficial. I've used it in my agency for years. It speeds up the loss run process. It really helps with not notifying the agent that the customer is already with, because we don't want them to know the customer's shopping. So it's very, very helpful. So Brendan, to get started, why don't you give us a little background about you, kind of how you ended up with Loss Run Pro, and then tell us about the company. And then I'll just let you jump into the demo and I'll ask questions as we go.
Awesome. Mariah, thank you so much. This is so great. So let's see, Loss Run Pro, we are we're technically a 3.5-year-old kind of insurtech startup, although sometimes I hate using that wording, but that's what we are. We are an insurtech platform that helps agencies like you guys who are listening get loss runs. The founder is Regan Brandt. She's the CEO, and she founded the company a couple years ago. She owns a premium finance company that maybe a few of you have used. It's called Columbia Pacific. And very quickly, she just found that rates were changing at binding. And so then, of course, she looked into why agents were having trouble getting these things called loss runs in order to complete the submissions. We fast forward, she kind of created Loss Run Pro. We launched in kind of November of 2019 with kind of some beta programs. We won some early seed money from various groups and a specialty MGA out of California. And they kind of helped us with our early distribution and getting it into the hands of retailers. Since launching in kind of really that next year in 2021, we have almost 3,000 agencies on the platform. So we've grown very quickly. And I think that speaks to A, it works and it works very well, but B, also the price point is very affordable because you don't need to be 100% commercial in order to use Loss Run Pro. You can have it just be a small piece of your business and it can still be an effective tool for you. So Mariah, with that, any questions before I kind of jump in here?
Well, tell us about how you started with Loss Run Pro. Tell us about kind of your journey and how you came to the company.
Oh man, my background is way different than most people, but very similar to a lot of people though. I fell into the insurance space. Mm-hmm. I actually came from
Nobody grows up and they're like, I want to work in insurance.
Nobody.
And if they do, they're weird. They probably had family that was in insurance. That's probably how they were like, I'm going to be an insurance agent.
Yeah, totally. So I was living in Seattle and I had been in a job where I was working for a golf company for 13 years. And after the pandemic, I kind of just needed a change. I was looking to get out of Seattle, and a friend of mine knew Regan, and she kind of had just started this process and was kind of looking for somebody to help her drive distribution and early sales and kind of get it out to the masses. So I had never been to Missoula. I had never been in the insurance business. And so I came over here, I met with Regan a couple times, and I fell in love with the idea of what Loss Run Pro was, kind of learning the small insurance pieces that I did. And then also being based out of Missoula, Montana, it couldn't have been any better. I just loved everything. It felt like exactly what I needed personally. And so I took a jump. I left my old company, came over here. I've been living here now for 2.5 years, and I still am learning a lot of insurance lingo and the different forms and submissions and carriers and MGAs, but I love it and I love it all. I feel very lucky for where I landed, versus, I'm not on the carrier or on the agency side, but it's given me a very unique look into both of those because loss runs are it's a tying component between the retail agents and the carriers. So I feel like it's been a very unique journey in the insurance space. I ask questions every day. I'm learning every day. And it's been a fun company to be a part of and a lot of growth, obviously, a very quick growth over the last couple of years.
Well, the fact that you were working in golf and made it to insurance, I feel like that's just eventually going to happen, because golf and insurance it's like peanut butter and jelly.
It is.
It's funny because I've never liked golf. Like, my husband drags me out a couple times a year, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. The joke was always like, keep my margarita full and I'll go, golfing with you. I'm really not a drinker, but it's just not my thing. But
sure.
He humors me and he rides horses with me and things. So it's give and take in marriage, but golf and insurance definitely goes together. So it makes total sense.
It is. So we used to do, so it was like a corporate golf tournament, corporate event planning company. So we did corporate golf tournaments for large, not agencies, it's in my mind, for large companies. So the Microsoft, Salesforce, like those types of companies, we did those nationally, but then locally, we did all these smaller kind of, hey, we have all these customers we want to take out. So we would kind of manage these golf tournaments, and we had like 4 or 5 different large kind of insurance agencies that did these golf tournaments throughout, kind of yearly as a thank you. And they would always have all these kind of corporate sponsors or these now carrier sponsors. So I was literally getting an inside look as to how these were run, and then here I am later, like you said, peanut butter and jelly. Now I'm on the insurance side, going to all the events.
Exactly.
Totally.
That's how it goes. All right. Awesome. Well, let's jump into the demo and talk about what is Loss Run Pro and how it makes it so easy to pull this information that we all need to have when quoting commercial.
For sure. So kind of as I jump in here and get the screen going. So background, Loss Run Pro, $29 a month or $300 a year per user. And we are very transparent with our pricing. That's it, right? If you have 3 producers at $300 a piece, it's $900 a year. There's no sign-up fee, or there's no setup fees, there's no onboarding fees, there's no per usage fee. That's it. We just want this to be a simple program that you use. And we also wanted this to be a program that could create drastic ROI for an agency. If you write one piece of new commercial business and we can help you get loss runs, the goal here is that the instant ROI on this is a no-brainer for agencies. Having said all of that, the program itself is broken down into 2 main sections. The first is signed authorization required. So this is to help agents who are writing new business, anything they do not control. And this is going to get a signature from their prospect, and then we're going to send it directly to the carriers. The second section is agent of record. This is for anything an agency already controls. This is designed to help them streamline this. This is kind of a scheduling tool that allows for agencies to maybe be a little bit more efficient with how they're asking or pulling their loss runs currently on those controlled accounts. So with that, I am going to start under signed authorization required, because that's what a lot of people come to us for, is that new business, right? The idea and the struggle is, Mariah, you have a prospect that you want to get loss, that you want to quote, but you need loss runs. And especially in the last couple of years, carriers are needing more and more loss runs. And the last thing we want to do is alert the incumbent broker or have the prospect go to the incumbent broker, because that upsets the apple cart. They get blocked out of the market, right? There's a variety of different ways that can take place. And so our goal is to hopefully offload a lot of that and to create maybe a little bit more of a streamlined opportunity. So we're going to start here, create loss run. I'm going to use just some of my testing stuff. Obviously, it's a demo here. So I'm going to put in golf events. This is our test company. Phone number. If anybody's writing a lot of work comp, you can drop in your FEIN. You can upload a customer logo here. The customer logo is nice because it will end up looking like it's on the actual customer or prospect's letterhead.
Oh, nice.
Address, city, state. Yep. Because like a lot of carriers used to like it where, you had to fax it back on their letterhead. So that way it looked like it was coming from the actual prospect itself. So by adding in their logo, it kind of mimics that same idea. All right. So address, city, state. Then we put in who the authorized signer is. We actually then can select who or what their title is, because who can sign for the release of loss runs? It's usually the principal, the vice president, the CEO, but you can select whoever that is, and we put in their email. Insurance professional. Now, when I select this, it's going to say my name because I'm currently the logged in user. I'm the admin on the account and I'm submitting this request. Now, it also shows you different users. As an agency, if I have multiple users, I can actually also assign this to you, Mariah. So that way, when you log in, this new request is actually in your dashboard, so then you can track it. So this is super helpful for account managers, CSRs, if maybe they're doing this on behalf of a producer.
Or even a virtual assistant. There's a lot of VAs in the independent channel.
So we have a lot of groups who are using this as an overseas tool. So that way then they're logging in and I'm going to assign this to Ellen or Ben. Now I'm just going to use mine just simply because I'm doing it. We use a return fax or e-fax because this will keep you guys anonymous to the carriers when the letters and the requests are sent there. And then you can put in your email here if you choose to. Now the nice part here under policy information, this helps each customer identify the individual lines of coverage that they need loss runs on. Now, in most cases, or previous workflows, Mariah, you might have to send 4 or 5 different attachments. They have to sign them individually. They send them back, and then you figure out where to go. Our goal is, again, streamline. How do we make you guys more efficient? So each one of these is independent from the other. So we can have multiple lines of coverage with different carriers all in one submission. Now, when I come here for the carrier list, the carriers in our program, we have 3,500 carriers, wholesalers, wow, MGAs, TPAs. It is a super robust list, right? So we've got, Cincinnati, we've got Chubb, we've got AmWins. Let me type that in.
Do you have farmers in there? I'm a farmer's agent, so I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. But now what I also want to point out is because in most cases for farmers agents, they're prospecting outside of that, right? So they're going to be selecting a lot of outside carriers and MGAs. We also have what's called the local list. The local list is great because if you guys had, Mariah, let's say that you knew that you wanted to send it specifically to Sarah at AmWins. Our global list is great, but regionally, we know we have customers all over the country, and they might have different regional contacts or agents or a specific agent they want to send it to. So each user can create their own local list and then select from that as well. So that's super helpful. It isn't necessary, but it can be kind of in addition as a supplement to our global list. Then we come here, we put in policy number, dates of coverage. That's one request. So then let's say, hey, we're working on commercial auto. I'm going to select travel. And again, these are just my test ones at travelers. There we go. These are just my test ones as I'm kind of building this. But the goal here is that instead of sending multiple requests and needing multiple different signatures, we can continue to build this out. And I'm just going to do one more here. We got CNA. Any questions with this, Mariah, as I'm kind of building?
No, this is great. So, you're trying to get all lines. So if they, say that we have all of these different carriers that we work with, which definitely happens. Yep. This is so handy just to fill out one request.
And then we're only going to send it to the customer one time. Now you can continue to add. I'll just do these 3 for the purpose of the demo. Now we have our default letter because we have one that is, it's accepted in all 50 states. It's DOI compliant. So that way agencies and agents don't have to put in their own. They are welcome to use ours. I'd say probably 96% of our customers use our verbiage. However, if an agent or agency chose to, they could actually customize their own and it becomes a drop-down. Now, kind of a quick pause from loss runs. A lot of people will use ours, as I said, for loss runs. But what people are building is they're building different custom letters. So, Mariah, we are having people who are building letter of authorities, BORs, NCCI templates. We have groups that are using it for med mal on the back end, right? Because we've kind of created this. I'm going to send this directly to a doctor. They're going to sign it, and it's going to go to the. So there's a lot of different value here beyond just loss runs because of the streamlined nature of getting this directly to the prospect, and then once it's signed, it goes to that carrier that we've indicated here.
Nice. This is like. Kind of like DocuSign, but specifically for insurance, right? Like it's so much easier because you don't have to worry about getting it back and then going in and sending it. That's so handy. I never thought about using it for anything other than loss runs, honestly. I really didn't.
Even with DocuSign, it's still coming back to you, and then you have to figure out where to send it. Not that DocuSign doesn't have a place, right? But we have a lot of people who are paying more for DocuSign for just that service than ours. So we've had people who have gotten rid of DocuSign, used ours, and then built other templates that kind of help in conjunction to replace what that was using it, or what they were using it for. Not everybody.
Yeah. But I would like to say, for purposes of this demo, like if you are getting loss runs, just use their default template. If you go in there and get it all edited and you send it and then the carrier, they decline it or they don't send it back, you're just creating a lot more problems. If you're going to create your own templates for other things, great. But like he said, all 50 states, DOI compliant, just trust it and use it. Don't worry. Don't get too hung up on editing it for yourself.
I completely agree. I think a lot of people do kind of think, oh, I would like to change this. Totally fine. What I would suggest, if you did want to do that, is use ours at first, find, and see how well it's working, and then we can tweak it on the back end. And we are happy to help offer any assistance on that kind of stuff. But again, that 96%, it's in here, so you don't have to worry about it, right? We're just trying to automate the process at every step of the way. And one of those pieces, DOI compliant letter already in here. All right. We're going to hit create. So now these requests, right? I'm going to use requests because it can be more than just loss runs, right? It doesn't have to be just loss run. Our system will build this. It goes back to the top of the dashboard. So now we have our request. It's up here. So I'm going to quickly just view this so all the people who are watching this can see. This is now what we've created. So you can see the logo is here. We've got our insured's information. We know this one's going to Amwins. We have our policy number. Here is your guys' agency fax, right? So you put in your e-fax or fax number. We know it's going to be signed by Brendan, the COO of Golf Events. Each letter also comes with this is the beginning of our audit trail, which will help us to validate that it was in fact signed by the right person. Here's our second letter and third letter. So if you did 8 letters, you could visually see each one. So now what we're going to do though, is I'm going to hit e-sign request. Now we're going to take these requests and we're going to send them to that prospect for signature. So I can come in here. I can CC or BCC anybody from my agency here. So Mariah, if you had somebody, again, maybe if I was doing this on behalf of a producer, I could include you here as the BCC. Now, I always encourage you users to use the BCC function because anybody you put here also goes to the carrier. So if you did it as a CC, they would know, hey, oh, it's Mariah, right? So just kind of a little tips and tricks, I guess. Now over here, this is the actual email that you're going to send to your customer. So it's sending from Loss Run Pro. So you can come in here. We have our default message here, but just like the letter, we have a custom email. Now in this version, I would say I would encourage you guys to build custom emails. And the reason behind that is because this is where you can include your signature and what you want it to say. So Mariah, if I was going to send one to you, I could have, hey, a sales meeting follow-up. It's preloaded. And again, because also a lot of these, in your case, Mariah, they're kind of canned responses. Hey, thanks for letting me quote your business. Please see attached. So you guys can kind of build it, but it has my signature below. And again, automation at every step of the way. I can even come in here, have fun camping this weekend, right? We can even build onto this preloaded email. So once we're ready though, we're going to come down. I'm going to hit send. The system is going to send that email and those 3 requests that we built.
I just saw right above that where it says you can send reminders every 3 days if it's not signed. That is so handy, right? Instead of having to put them in a tickler somewhere else to make sure that it's done, you can just say, yep, just keep popping it out. You can click on that, or I was getting to that right here because you're totally right. Sorry, I got excited, jumped ahead.
Totally. It's in either section. I talk about it here because we now know, hey, it's been sent one time. We know it hasn't been signed, so you can use the dashboard as a tracking tool. But what we also then have is this 3-day reminder, because how often as an agent or a CSR are you calling a prospect? Hey, Mariah, did you get that? Did you get your loss runs? Hey, have you talked to your incumbent broker? Hey, have you? It does that all now. So every 3 business days, our system will send the prospect a reminder email to sign for the release of loss runs. Now, let's refresh this real quick. Let's pop it. So this will be an example of what your customer, your prospect gets. So Mariah, if you were the one who was logged in and sending this, it comes in from you. I'm the user, right? So it comes in from Brendan Core. So that way your customer knows, hey, I was expecting an email from Mariah, from Sarah, from Connor. Hey, thanks for meeting with me. Have fun camping this weekend. Here's our custom email. Here are the 3 requests that we built. But this is all the prospect is having to do. They hit e-sign request. I'm Brendan. I agree to release my loss runs. 3 clicks of the button, and that's it. Once they've done this, those requests that we created are instantly signed and sent directly to the carrier.
I love how simple that is, because it's amazing how easy it is for people to get confused when you send them something to e-sign. So I love it that there's just like 2 clicks and then sign. You're done. They don't even have to go through like the preview of it. That's really nice. And
most people are familiar enough with e-signature now, right? You can do it from your phone, your tablet. So it doesn't take much. And so what we're finding, and Mariah, you'll love this, is that a lot of people are also now using, because how simple it is, they're using Loss Run Pro as like a sales tool, right? How serious is this prospect? Are they actually willing to work with me? Because why am I going to go spend all this time completing a submission form only for them to not release loss runs in a month?
Yeah.
If they can't e-sign this document, maybe it's time to move them down the prospect list, because that might indicate how serious they are about letting you guys quote that business. It took 3 clicks. That's it.
We just did a demo on another commercial software that helps you kind of like hone in on your ideal business that you're targeting, right? Because a lot of people throw a very wide net and then they end up being prospects that aren't good fit anyways. And this just kind of speaks to that same ideal is, most agencies want people who can handle like electronic signatures and doing business digitally, because that's kind of how it is now, right? People still obviously meet in person, but it's becoming less and less. And as a business owner, I know this is something that I would really appreciate. I mean, if I always joke whenever I have a vendor and they're like, oh, we don't have automatic payments, you have to send me a payment. I'm like, oh my, I'm going to go shop your competitors because I don't have time. You just need to here's my bank account information, take my money, put it on auto pay. Same kind of thing, right? You need something from me. I don't want to have to print this off, sign it, scan it, email it, all the things. This is so handy. So thinking as the mind of a business owner, efficiency is so important.
There are so many tools out there that allow us to be more efficient with our time. And I think e-signature is certainly one of them. And in most cases, because identifying your prospect is of course important, but then one step further from that is, because the carriers, the market is just so incredibly hard, carriers are needing 5 years, 7 years of loss runs. If they aren't willing to give you access to that, why are we going to spend time completing a submission only for them not to release them at a certain point later on down the line, and you've had your team spend all this time completing that submission?
We talk about this in the automation space because we have so much follow-up, right? We have follow-up that goes out to prospects for like 30 days after we've quoted them. And I've told my team, like, there is no way you would have time to do follow-up on a lead for 30 days. And I wouldn't want you to, because it's probably a waste of your time. But for the 100%. 5, 10, maybe 15% of people who you do get down to day 20 and they do respond between day 20 and day 30, we never ever would have continued to follow up with those people. So the automation is really helpful to grab kind of those people who are dragging their feet, but you have to focus on things that are a good use of your time. And this is the same thing, right? So you've submitted loss runs, they're going to get a reminder every 3 days. I mean, man, if you can't get them to do that, something so simple that literally I think took maybe 10 seconds. what's the rest of that relationship going to be like, right? Do you want that
Couldn't agree
person
more.
in your agency? Oh, I don't know.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, and I get, you know, and that's also part of the reason why we built this, right? Because it is a very awkward conversation, like, and it's a very clunky part of the process to have to go to my current broker to request loss runs. So I get it in the old sense, right? They might drag their feet because they don't want to upset the apple cart. On the other side of the fence, we've made it so easy. There should be no reason for them to not want to e-sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're just, you know, wanting to see if you can beat the rate, but then they're going to go back to their broker and their broker will just match that price point. You know,
yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So now we've created the requests. They've been signed. The last piece of this kind of process for new business is this is what the carriers get. So Mariah, I don't really remember if we showed you this early on in the demo, but this is why we're successful. In the previous email, I showed you that it comes from Brendan, right? Whoever the user is, because it's going to the prospect. In this case, it's coming from Tim's Trucks, Golf Events, because this is the email that Amwins or Farmers or Travelers gets. They get an email from the actual insured's company and company name. So it comes from Golf Events. We also CC the insured. So now the person who signed for the release of loss runs is automatically included in that same email. Do not contact the current agent. And then as I showed you earlier, but here's now the signed letter and our full completed audit trail, which now, again, mine, I'm signing from my own desk, so mine's turned off, but it would help to validate where it's being signed from to prevent fraud. So that is why we're so successful, is it's getting directly to the carrier department. I guess I'll kind of pause there. I'm going to refresh this because it'll kind of show us how the system also updates, but that's kind of the completion of that process on the new business side. You can see when it was signed. Now we know in most states, carriers have 10 business days to respond to a signed authorization. Currently, we're just around 67, 68% come back in under 3 business days. But we also then set the expectation of, hey, Mariah, if you and your team haven't gotten it by August 16th, you know, that's when we should have them back by, you know, so that completes the process here. So anything else pop up there?
No, that makes sense. I like that there's a quoted timeline too in there.
Yeah. Now, the nice part I will say is we find that a lot of people, hey, I need loss runs in 24, 48 hours, or hey, you know, we haven't gotten loss runs and I need them tomorrow. One of the nice pieces of this is if it goes past the 10 business days, our service team is happy to kind of escalate with a carrier directly. So let's say on the 17th, Mariah, you don't have loss runs. You can actually come in here and you can email our service team and we will help to get the loss runs. However, the nice part is if we go back here, sorry, there we go. The insured is copied on every email. Now, the only person who can request immediately the release of loss runs is in fact the insured. So the insured now could actually reply all. And in this case, they could reply all to Amwins, Travelers, and CNA. And they could say, hey, I just signed this letter, but I need my loss runs by tomorrow. Please send them right away. We can't get involved as a third party until after those kind of that DOI time frame. But as a insured, they could sign it and then instantly press reply all directly to Travelers and say, send me my loss runs today.
Yeah.
So it gives you a variety of different access points to getting those loss runs in a timely manner.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love that they can easily escalate it. At the same time, I would say this is why it's so important for agents to have a really good, clear process of their quoting timelines. We encourage people to reach out 60 days prior to a renewal date. Most commercial don't shop mid policy. Some do, but most of the time we're kind of X-dating and reaching out. But if you reach out 60 days in advance and you start this process right at the beginning, at that first interaction with your customer, there should be no reason that you should have to really worry about an escalation. If you have that 10 10 days that you're going down the line and you're just working on collecting the rest of the information. That's pretty quick, really. But there's agents out there, and we all get those phone calls too.
Yeah, totally.
My policy renews next week. My price went up. I need a quote.
I know. I need a
and
quote
now
right
you're
away.
Struggling to like, oh my gosh, we can't really do commercial in a week, but we're going to try. We want to get all the business we can. But I love that you can say, hey, because of your timeline, I need you to be really involved and go in. You're going to get this email. I want you to reply all and request it immediately. Otherwise, we're going to be dead in the water, right? So 100%. That's so simple versus them asking them to draft a letter or e-sign another letter, to send out. That's awesome.
Yeah. And again, I think those cases are, as you said, they're not as frequent as they are when it's, hey, we're just prospecting, right? So it can be kind of part of that sales cycle with a new prospect in our pipeline. But there are those times when you do get it. Hey, yeah, the rates are going up. I want a new quote and I have 5 days before it auto renews. So a lot of different kind of variations to the platform. But that does give us a great segue into our next section, because agent of record is now on the other side of the kind of the fence that will help agencies stay more effective throughout the customer's life cycle by allowing them to request loss runs on their current customers more frequently. So this is a scheduling tool. Now, anything under this section, we do not need a signature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press schedule, and I'm going to do one because I think, Mariah, for you and everybody, it'll really help to see the processing and kind of what I mean by scheduling tool. So in its current state, let's say that I'll keep using AmWins, right? If I have an account with AmWins, and this is primarily for anything, outside of farmers, because obviously with farmers, you guys have direct access. Anything outside of that, for any of you guys out there in that independent space who have a book of business outside of that, this is going to be huge. What we're going to do is we're going to put in Compass Real Estate. I'm going to select AmWins, and I'll just go down to my, same one here. We put in policy number, type of coverage. We had the work comp request, put in our effective date. Mariah, these are going to come back to you as soon as we get them, right? They're going to be tagged. It could be tagged as trucking department, claims, right? We could tag it for whatever. We know that, let's just say you and I, we just bound this account, right? July 24th. In our current workflow, we want loss runs, 30 days out, 60 days out. Our scheduling tool, again, as I said, is supposed to help you guys be more proactive. We could say we want to start getting loss runs 150 days out from renewal. And we want to get loss runs at 90 days. And then lastly, we want to validate it at 30 days out. So what we're able to do is to assist in building a request. If you guys as an agency already control this, Mariah, instead of your CSR having to email AmWins, Travelers, Chubb in February, April, and June, they create one request and then they can build that custom schedule for however often and how frequently they want to get loss runs on a controlled piece of business. Does that make sense?
This is so cool. So when you bind your business, part of your closing or your bind process can be to schedule next year's loss run polls. You could put that into your automation, to your checklist for your staff to do. And then now it's kind of one of those indicators, right? When renewals come around, you have them in your renewal pipeline.
It's already done.
Bam, here they are.
You can do monthly, custom, quarterly, semi-annually. I just did one for 10 months. So now starting, if you have a group that has a mod, and so they need loss runs every single month, instead of Mariah, you having to send an email for 10 months in a row. And this is just one line of coverage, right? This is one line of coverage. So if you need access to 10 different lines of coverage, that's 10 emails times 10 lines of coverage. That's 100 emails. You know what I mean? And that's just one customer. So it's giving, hopefully, whatever team member is doing this, instant efficiencies regarding their current book of business and how, just kind of how frequently, what that cadence is on a line of business. This can also be built for up to 6 years out. So Mariah, if we build this, because most customers, right, and especially small mid-markets, they aren't going to need loss runs quarterly. Maybe on some of these larger accounts, sure, you can build it quarterly, but in most cases, hey, it's 90 days out, 45 days out, or it's even just every 6 months, right? Hey, I've got now every September and March all the way built until March of 2029.
Jeez.
Wild, huh?
That's insane. That's just so handy. Like if someone came to me before this and said like, hey, I want to like automate this process in some way, I'd be like, well, create a reminder and create a template and then just like auto send go in and manually send the template on the reminder dates. But this is awesome. Like it's just going to pick it up.
Yeah. And let's just say that they
Already
don't want
pre-done.
the September. Yeah. Like they don't want the September dates anymore. Okay. You just quickly add it in. So now we have March for the next 6 years. Okay, we come down here. We have another custom email message because if I'm a CSR or an account manager, these messages are different because they are going directly to the underwriter. Again, we don't need any signatures. So whatever schedule we have here, this is going to go directly to Amwins. So our custom email messages, hey, it's a 100-day renewal notice, semi-annual work comp. I can CC or BCC anybody. Mariah, how great would it be is if you're the producer, I can CC you on this every single time. So now also you have a direct checkpoint with your potential customer, with your current customer, and so that way every 6 months you're getting a loss run report and you're like, hey, it looks like we have no losses. Hey, it looks like we had something. I think we should get together and meet so we can talk about, but it just gives you more information.
Mm-hmm.
You can add an attachment. Once you're ready, you press schedule. It not only goes out, now you can see it at the top of the dashboard. We have Compass with Mariah, but now also you can see our program offers your customers the agencies an entire digital dashboard, which tracks all of their upcoming renewal submissions for loss runs. So it may, and it has for some customers of ours, some agencies, it has replaced their old Excel file, which has all of their expiration dates, and then dates at which they need to email the underwriter. Not for everybody, but this certainly can be one of those tools that can replace that.
Yeah, I just have to say too, if you are an agent and you're running commercial and you're using an Excel spreadsheet, please get a CRM. Stop doing that. That is just the old way of doing it. I know that so many agents are stuck kind of in our old like paper and Excel file way of thinking. You're just working way too hard. It's so much easier in a CRM or even with a system like this where it's all digital. It's easy. What happens if that file gets corrupted? I even know agents who have it saved to their actual computer. It's not even cloud-based saved. Their whole book of business on an Excel file. And I'm like, oh, you're killing me. How often do you back your computer up? And they're like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, oh man,
what are you talking about?
That computer dies and you're done, man. Like you need to get this on the cloud. So this is awesome. I absolutely love it. I do have a question here just because, I'm always thinking like, how can I connect this to my CRM? Because that's where we spend our days. Is there like any kind of link, for example, like Compass Real Estate? So is there a link that I could click on that would like take me to their account and like populate Loss Run Pro?
Sadly, we do not have any integrations yet. So now we do have an import function. So you can download out of your CRM all of your lines of business. We have 8 parameters, so that way you can mass upload into the system and you're not doing individual one-offs.
Perfect.
So, and as a little caveat, the reason that we don't have any direct APIs right now with some of these larger, the Vertafore, Hawksoft, Apply, any of these customers or kind of CRMs is we decided that it's more beneficial long-term for us to go after carrier and MGA partnerships first, solving the bottleneck on the retail side and getting the efficiencies ironed out. So that way the request has been submitted first is very important. But now, rather than having you, Mariah, potentially type in Compass Real Estate, we now, instead of that, we figured getting you that information from the carrier instantly is far more valuable than having to type in Compass Real Estate and a policy number. So our goal over the next kind of 6 to 12 months is to have quite a few of these carrier MGA partnerships. And our goal is to act more like Switzerland. if I can use that as an example, and we just become the conduit. So a request comes, obviously pings off their system. If you're the agent of record, it gets instantly dropped back to you. So we have built on the back end an entire kind of MGA carrier dashboard that allows them to manage via Loss Run Pro a lot of their internal submissions. Because what we also found was half the problem, once we've solved the bottleneck on the retail side, the bottleneck upstream is almost just as bad at the release of information. So that gives you a little background as to why some of those other kind of CRM, AMS partnerships they're not necessarily not important. They just we couldn't do both.
Sure. I get it. I mean, we have 2 projects I've been working on all year. Oh my gosh. And I'm nowhere close to as far as in them as I would like, just because we're also, of course, supporting our existing customers and, providing information like this out. So I get it. You have to prioritize what's best for the business and what's going to help you solve the most problems. I would say I would like to request to add to my wish list for you guys to get on, even just to get on Zapier, because then it doesn't matter the company, right? And we can just kind of plug stuff in and connect it. I hear that from a lot of agents when they are looking at really either creating an or a tech stack for their agency. They're like, oh my gosh, there's so many things to choose from, right? Or it's, I wish it would all just talk to each other. And so the more that things talk to each other, definitely the easier for agents to utilize versus having to have, 15 browser window open on their computer because they're like, okay, I'm checking here, I'm checking there, I'm checking here, I'm checking there. Yeah, which is, these are all powerful tools. And again, for anyone watching, pick what's best for you, right? I've talked to agents, they're like, what should I buy? Which one should I get into first? And I'm like, well, what's going on in your agency? Do you even have enough people to talk to? Probably should start with prospecting stuff. If you have enough people to talk to and the sales process is bogging you down, then you need solutions like this, right? You need efficiency solutions. So take a really good view of your agency and just pick one thing at a time. I have a new agent that we're working with, and she's like, I'm going to go broke with all this insurance stuff that I'm buying, all this technology. And I was like, okay, slow down, one thing at a time. There's no reason you should be going 100%. Broke. All these things should be making you money. And but pick one thing at a time, learn it, implement it, and then move on to the next one. So a lot of people get overwhelmed by this stuff, but I love this system because it can do so many different things that every single agent that has any commercial business is doing. And I have not been utilizing this at all to its max potential. I didn't know some of this stuff. So I'm a little embarrassed to say, because I have, we had a commercial producer, and when we signed up, I was like, hey, go do the demo, get it, done. And she just used it for loss runs. We really have underutilized it.
So yes, first of all, I totally agree. I've even had demos with people where I've even said, hey, I love that you're interested in this, but you have 10 other things that are a priority as a new agency and or someone that's moving from personal lines over to commercial. I certainly want every piece of business, right? We are a for-profit company and we want you signed up. But also it doesn't do any good if they sign up and then they don't know how to use it. They don't use it for 6 months and then they cancel and they feel like they've been burned by the program when in fact, they wasted $150 in theory, right? Because they didn't use it. They're disgruntled. We feel bad. I'd rather have them wait that 6 months, sign up when they're ready because they have the other processes in place to utilize this, because then that gives everybody the best of both worlds. They use it, it works, and then we're making our money because they're using the product, but also then happy customer, of course, it will help them win more business, and then they grow. So, and then on the new stuff, we've launched a couple of these things as we've gone and kind of, added to it from when she signed up. But a lot of this stuff, some people, I think, again, they come for the new business because that's what they hear and that's what they want. But there is a lot more to the program, but you also can't learn everything at once. And so we get that. So, but there's a lot of groups out there that are utilizing this for more than just loss runs. They're using it for their renewals, and they have absolutely been killing it. It's a great tool and can drastically improve some, inefficient workflows that you might have. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. If you're watching and you're trying to think, okay, so when do I implement this, right? Am I ready now? Or do I need to wait the 6 months like you were just talking about? I would honestly tell you, and obviously if you're the one doing everything in your agency, you're going to know, but if you have staff, go talk to your staff and say, hey, watch this demo. You can even fast forward to the part that we demo the system and say, would this help you? How much time would this save you? Ask your team, how much time do you spend tracking down loss runs? And if they don't know, have them track it for a month, have them track it for 30 days, and then come back to you and say, well, this would have saved me 15 hours this month. Well, that's definitely worth it, because what else could they have done with 15 hours of time? I'm not saying that's the number. It could be 5 hours. I don't know.
Correct.
But the whole idea with all of this InsurTech is get your people to do things that drive revenue, right? Following up with carriers on loss runs doesn't drive revenue, especially if you can automate it. If you can get them on the phone more often, talking to the prospect, gathering information that you can't automate, that has to be delivered to you directly, that is a better use of their time. So, we all know it's a tough workforce out there, right? Yep. I've been hiring staff in my agency and equally firing people that have not worked out. And it is so hard, you guys, the market, the work ethic, these agents I talk to who hire overseas VAs, they're like, the work ethic is just different in some countries.
It is.
And so take the people who you do have who are good and just maximize everything they can do for you. Yeah. And the more automation that you have, again, it's not to replace your discussions with clients. That is not the point. Don't try to automate that. Automate all the back end. Make it easy. Right. Maximize their time, keep them in front of clients, selling policies, building relationships, creating loyalty. Yeah. And tools like this are so key to that. And I'll tell you, I talk to, we have over 400 agencies that are clients of ours. You have 3,000. I run social media groups that have, I think we're close to 10,000 between all three groups. And everybody is refocusing on commercial. So like if you're
go.
like, I know, if you're an agent and you're like, man, I got to stop writing personal lines, it's killing me, I need better revenue streams, and you're starting to dip into commercial, you're not alone, right? The industry is definitely refocusing there, and people are jumping in that never considered it before. So having tools like this to be efficient, because your competitors are going to have it. So
I was just going to say that. Okay, so 2 points on all that. Our best customers are people who tell me they don't have the budget for Loss Run Pro at $29 a month, right? Which is fine. Like if that's the case, that's okay. And then, and then what they do is they come back like 3 weeks later and they're like, oh, I couldn't get loss runs. Okay, yeah, $29, that's like the cost of a cheeseburger these days, right? Like,
I was just gonna say, if you can't budget that, stop buying coffee, hack your lunch for 2 days. I mean, there's an amazing amount of things you can do to cut out of your budget for $30. I don't think that there's anyone out there who can't budget $30. And if there is,
all the time,
you might be beyond the point of help. I'm sorry. That could be the reality of it. I'm kind of harsh, but it could be true.
Well, I also then my next follow up to that is like, well, how much commercial are you writing? And they're like, oh, it's 100% of our book, or it's 50%. I'm like, wait, what? Like how? Anyways, it's not a fit for everybody. I get that. But then also on the other side is that some of our other better customers are people who end up, their competitors are using Loss Run Pro and they've lost business as a result of it because they weren't on top of their current customers. And so they went out, somebody used Loss Run Pro, they requested loss runs, and they were able to complete the submission without the incumbent knowing until the new broker had already blocked all the markets. So there's definitely a lot there. I would say we've had success, especially with people who, as you mentioned, they have the staff, right? They have enough of the leads that are coming in. But at $29 a month, with both new business and renewals, if this saves 1 hour a month for somebody in your office and it's helping to drive revenue, it should be a pretty quick yes. What we have found is kind of that break even is like kind of around 10, even if you're writing just 10% of commercial, this works because that equates to about 1 or 2 submissions a month. And if we can help you with those 1 or 2 submissions at $29 a month, that is an easily recoverable cost, kind of back to the ROI I was talking about early on, because hopefully the commercial you're writing and switching to is far greater than that $300 or, $29 a month.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we have a 97.8% retention rate or 98.7. It's one of the two. It's crazy. Because again, you're a perfect example, Mariah. It works. Hey, I didn't know all the functionality behind it, but it's worked well enough to where I still have it because it has worked so well, and I want to have access to it when we have the issue and we need loss runs.
Yeah, I'm not even actively pursuing commercial right now. I'm really not. We've been restaffing and rehiring our personal lines team. So even though, but I've never thought to go cancel it, because we still have people who call us and they're like, hey, I need a quote, or we have our existing clients who have a business or open a business and we're going to cross sell. And I will tell you, when I first became an agent and the first time I got a request for a loss run, I was like, what is that? I don't know what a loss run is. Totally. I mean, I started scratch. I didn't know, I learned everything as I went. This was 10 years ago. And then when they said how I had to do it, I'm like, wait, I have to like get a hold of the other agent? Isn't that suicide? Like, don't you just completely lose your opportunity? It just didn't make any sense to me. And this was referred to me by another agent. And then we started using it. It's so simple. But I did that in the beginning. I would send the request to the other agent. And then
I think a lot of people do. It's so,
I was just shooting myself in the foot. Like a closing issue was horrible because the agent just went back and, they already had a relationship with the client. So it was tough. Anything else you think that people considering the software should know before we kind of wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean,
we covered a lot.
We did. We covered a lot. We covered how, obviously this is built upon loss runs, right? And there's a lot of other tools that drive efficiencies. Our goal is that, as I've said, if you're writing like one piece of new business a month, this should work for you and it should create instant ROI. You should be able to drive new revenue. You should be able to quote more. And our goal is we can grow with you, right? If you have one producer and that producer's winning more business, you sign up another person, right? Like you have another producer, we want to grow with you. So otherwise, lossrunpro.com. Check us out.
Yeah. How else should they reach out to you directly? Should they go to the website? That was gonna be my last question. Yeah. How do they reach out?
You can go to lossrunpro.com. We have if you want individualized demos, you can go to lossrunpro.com and you can click. We have like a little calendar link that you can schedule one with any one of our sales team. We have an interactive demo on our platform as well. So that way, if you just want new business, you guys can go through that interactive website and then say, hey, okay, I just want to learn about new business. Or we can do the renewal section. So it's all interactive, it's on there. But yeah, you can go in there, you're right on the webpage. You can go to sign up now. You can email into me, bcorr, CORR at lossrunpro.com. Find us on LinkedIn, Instagram. We're on all the socials too. So
I found your Facebook page. I liked it.
Facebook page. There you go. Facebook.
Actually, I saw that on there. There's actually some, like you guys are on a podcast, because I love to hear users, right? So I pulled up the Facebook page real quick.
Yeah.
This was a webinar, and then there's podcasts here you can go in and listen to, because it's always nice to hear from users. And then I even saw a testimonial you had here from Christina. This is great, right? Just kind of the individuals that are using it. I use it, obviously I like it, but if you don't trust me for any reason, you can go talk to these other people who really like it and make a decision for yourself.
Yeah, we try to do all the podcasts and we try to do all the events. If you're a farmer's agent listening, we are going to be at the Embrace event in Dallas, Texas, and then we are going to be at the WAC event in Reno, Nevada. So those are coming up over the next couple months. We try to do all these things. The program works. It works really well. And we believe it is, a well-priced tool. And there's a lot of value here for those who choose to sign up and kind of move forward with the program.
Yeah, you're definitely best price. There's a competitor that just started kind of offering this a little bit with other pieces that they're doing, but it is significantly more expensive. And I haven't done a full demo of that service yet, but I will tell you, from what I understand of the demo and talking to that company, it is not as robust. So a lot of value for the price. I don't think that the price is anything that anybody should have any issues with. But again, if you're not doing commercial, then this doesn't make sense for you. If you want to do commercial, or you have a commercial book, and you spend time pulling loss runs, this still makes sense, even if you're not targeting your business. So, well, thank you so much, Brendan, for all the information. I've really appreciated it. Now I better understand the service I've been paying for a long time. So thank you guys. Reach out to Brendan if this is going to help you out.